The final phase of Operation Mirror began with a single transmission broadcast simultaneously across every alien communication network in the galaxy. The message was simple, delivered in the calm voice of General Park Ji-sung, Supreme Commander of Human Forces. Attention all alien military personnel. This is General Park Ji-sung of the Human Defense Force. Your education in human warfare is now complete. Please prepare for your final examination. In the command center beneath the Swiss Alps, Lee Dong-wook watched tactical displays showing the positions of human forces throughout alien space. After 3 years of careful preparation, humanity held advantages in every major star system, not through conquest, but through invitation. Sir, his operations chief reported, all human assets are in position. We have confirmation from commanders in all 17 sectors. Alien forces are surrounded and their key systems are under our control. And their response? Lee Dong-wook asked. Confusion, mostly. Some are demanding explanations. Others are attempting to activate weapons that no longer function. A few are beginning to understand the scope of their situation. On Vorthak Prime, in the Academy's main lecture hall, Kim Dae-ho stood before an audience that now included not just faculty, but senior military commanders from across the planet. General Mordock had arrived with his staff, all of them trying to understand how their most secure facility had been compromised so thoroughly. General, Dae-ho said, addressing Mordock directly, your academy has spent considerable effort teaching students how to kill humans. I believe it's time for the final lesson in that curriculum. The holographic displays around the hall showed tactical maps of the galaxy, but not as the aliens had ever seen them before. Human positions were marked, with a transparency that was almost insulting. Ships, bases, agents, and assets were displayed with complete openness. Here, Dae-ho pointed to a cluster of symbols near the Corthanian home system, are 37 human vessels that have been operating in your territory for the past 8 months. Your forces engaged them 6 times and achieved victories in each encounter. The displays showed recordings of those battles, familiar scenes that the alien commanders had studied as examples of successful anti-human tactics, but now annotations revealed details they had missed. Escape pods that had been empty, casualty reports that had been fabricated, ship destructions that had been carefully staged. Your tactical analyses were correct, Dae-ho continued. Humans did behave emotionally in these engagements. We did make predictable decisions. We did prioritize individual lives over strategic objectives. The error in your reasoning was assuming that these behaviors were weaknesses rather than carefully chosen tactics. Park So-min joined the presentation, activating displays that showed alien communication networks. Every transmission you intercepted from human forces was genuine. Every desperate call for help, every panicked retreat order, every plea for mercy was real. What you didn't understand was that these communications were being broadcast specifically for your benefit. General Mordock stared at the evidence surrounding him. You're saying that your people died just to maintain this deception? Some did, Dae-ho replied solemnly. Volunteers who understood that their sacrifice would save millions of other human lives by convincing you that we were weaker than we actually are. Their names are honored in our records and their families know the truth about their heroism. The displays now showed personnel files from across alien military organizations. Faces of individuals that everyone recognized, trusted colleagues and respected experts, were highlighted with a simple notation. Human agent. Dr. Vexelara, your chief of xenobiology research, Park So-min pointed out, has been providing you with detailed analyses of human physiology for 2 years. Her reports on human weaknesses and vulnerabilities have been the foundation of your anti-human weapons development. On cue, a figure entered the lecture hall. The aliens recognized her immediately. Dr. Vexelara, one of their most trusted scientific advisors. But as she walked to the front of the room, she reached up and began removing what everyone now realized was an incredibly sophisticated biological disguise. Underneath the alien exterior was Dr. Kim Hae-sun, one of humanity's leading experts in interspecies psychology. She had been studying alien behavior and decision-making processes for years, all while pretending to help them understand humans. The weapons you developed based on my research, Dr. Kim Hai-sun said in her natural voice, were designed to be effective against the humans I described to you. Unfortunately, those humans were fictional. The biological vulnerabilities I identified don't exist. The psychological weaknesses I documented were carefully crafted deceptions. Similar revelations were occurring simultaneously across alien space. Trusted advisors, respected experts, and reliable personnel were revealing themselves to be human agents. The infiltration network was so extensive that some alien facilities discovered they were more than half-staffed by humans. On Earth, Ambassador Bae Won-shik was concluding his presentation to the Galactic Council with a display that showed the true scope of human influence throughout the galaxy. "Honored counselors," he said, and his tone now carried an authority that demanded respect. Rather than requesting it, humanity offers you a choice. You may continue to believe that we are weak, emotional, and easily defeated, in which case you will continue to fight the war you think you understand against opponents who don't actually exist. The holographic displays around the council chamber showed alien military forces throughout the galaxy, surrounded by human ships and dependent on systems that humans controlled. Or, Bae Won-shik continued, you may acknowledge that your understanding of humanity has been fundamentally flawed, and begin learning what it actually means to coexist with a species that has been preparing for this moment for 3 years. Counselor Thexmara, her scales now pale with shock, asked the question that everyone in the chamber was thinking. What do you want from us? Ambassador Bae Won-shik smiled, and for the first time since his appointment, it was a genuinely warm expression. We want exactly what we have always wanted, Counselor. Peace, cooperation, mutual respect. The only difference is that now you understand the consequences of refusing those things. Back on Vorthak Prime, Admiral Choi Hee-jin's voice was being broadcast to every alien facility in the system. General Mordak, you asked what would happen if aliens tried to kill humans who had been preparing for that attempt. Today, you have your answer. The displays in the lecture hall showed human forces throughout alien space, not attacking but simply maintaining positions that demonstrated their capability to control whatever they chose to control. We could destroy your fleets, the Admiral continued. We could shut down your communication networks. We could disable your planetary defenses and occupy your worlds. We have been in position to do all of these things for months. General Mordak looked around the lecture hall at his staff officers, all of whom were beginning to understand the magnitude of their situation. Then why haven't you? Kim Dae-ho answered the question. Because, General, that would make us the kind of species that your academy was training students to fight. Aggressive, conquering, genocidal. We are not those humans. The humans you were preparing to kill, Park So-min added, were creatures of your own imagination. The actual humans you've been dealing with are more interested in building than destroying, in teaching than conquering. Admiral Choi Hee-jin's transmission continued. However, we are also not the weak, helpless victims that your intelligence services believed us to be. We are teachers, General, and today's lesson is about the difference between choosing restraint and being incapable of action. The displays now showed the true extent of human technological capabilities. Ships that were faster than anything in alien fleets. Weapons that were more powerful than anything in alien arsenals. Defensive systems that were more sophisticated than anything alien engineers had imagined possible. For 3 years, Admiral Choi Hee-jin explained, you have been fighting holographic shadows, while we prepared to face the real you. Your anti-human weapons were designed to kill humans who don't exist. Your tactics were developed to defeat strategies we never intended to use. Your entire military doctrine is based on fighting an enemy that was created specifically to lose. To you. Kim Dae-ho walked to the center of the lecture hall and addressed the assembled alien commanders directly. The course in killing humans is now officially concluded. Your final grades are as follows. You have learned to defeat imaginary enemies while being completely unprepared to face real ones. However, he continued, humanity is pleased to announce the opening of a new course, Advanced Interspecies Cooperation, taught by instructors who have proven their ability to think strategically, plan comprehensively, and execute complex operations with precision. Park So-min activated a final display showing proposed new treaties and agreements between human and alien governments. The curriculum for this new course includes modules on mutual respect, fair trade, shared defense, and collaborative exploration of the galaxy. General Mordak stared at the documents appearing on the displays. They were remarkably generous, offering aliens far better terms than they had any right to expect given their current situation. "Why?" he asked. Commander Thexaval's 6 arms trembled as he stared at the human standing before him. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme stress among his people. The classroom suddenly felt much smaller than it had moments before. "Impossible," Thexval whispered. "Biomask cannot fool our scanners for more than a few hours. The genetic markers, the scent signatures, the cellular structure." Kim Dae-ho picked up one piece of the discarded mask and examined it with casual interest. "Oh, this whole thing? Yes, it is quite impressive, isn't it? Human technology has come a long way since your last intelligence reports." The commander's hand moved slowly toward the emergency alert button on his podium. Dae-ho noticed the movement, but made no attempt to stop it. Instead, he walked closer, his footsteps echoing in the empty hall. "Please, by all means, call for help," Dae-ho said. "I'm curious to see how long it takes campus security to respond. Your lecture on human infiltration tactics suggested it would be immediate." Thexaval's hand froze halfway to the button. Something in the human's calm tone made him reconsider. This was not how humans were supposed to behave. Where was the fear? Where was the panic that should come with being discovered deep in enemy territory? "You're trapped," Thexval said, trying to regain his composure. "Surrounded by thousands of alien soldiers, miles from any human territory. How exactly do you plan to escape?" Dae-ho sat down in one of the student chairs, making himself comfortable. "Escape? Who said anything about escaping? I rather like it here. The food is terrible and the company is questionable, but the education has been fascinating." The human reached into his bag and pulled out a small device. It looked like a standard student tablet, the kind used for taking notes. He activated, hit with a touch, and the screen began glowing. "I've been recording every class session, of course," Dae-ho explained. "Your lecture series on human termination protocols will make excellent viewing back home, especially the part where you explained how humans are too stupid to use advanced technology." Miles away from the academy, in a small apartment that appeared to belong to a Zeltharian exchange student, Park So-min received an encrypted signal on her communication device. The message was short but clear. "The mask is off. Begin Phase 2. She had been Dae-ho's handler for this operation, posing as his study partner and roommate. For 6 months she had maintained her own disguise as a linguistics student. She had attended parties, made friends, and dated a Korthanian engineering student named Vokhtar, who wrote her terrible poetry. Now she moved with swift efficiency through the apartment, gathering important items and destroying evidence. The innocent, student life she had built was about to end, but she had been prepared for this moment since the day they arrived. Her fingers flew across her communication device, sending coded messages to sleeper agents across the planet. The message was the same to each. The student has graduated. Time for the real lessons to begin. Back in the lecture hall, Commander Thexval was trying to understand what he was seeing. The human showed no signs of stress or fear. If anything, he seemed amused by the entire situation. "You spent an entire semester listening to classified military information," Thexval said. "Information that could help humanity in a war against us." "Could help?" Dae-ho repeated. "Commander, I think you misunderstood the purpose of this class. I wasn't here to steal your secrets. I was here to give you mine." The confusion on Thexval's face was obvious. His 6 arms gestured helplessly as he tried to process this statement. "Give us your secrets? That makes no sense." Dae-ho stood up and walked to the holographic display controls. "May I?" he asked politely. Without waiting for an answer, he began operating the system with the ease of someone who had watched it being used for months. "You see, Commander, there's something your intelligence services never figured out about humans," Dae-ho said as images began appearing in the air above them. We're very good at showing people exactly what we want them to see. The first image showed the Battle of Proxima Station, the same one Thexval had used to demonstrate human weakness. But now Deho was highlighting different details, pointing out things that had been overlooked. Here, Deho said, indicating a group of human ships. You see what you interpreted as humans throwing themselves into danger to save their wounded. But look at the formation more carefully. Look at the timing of their movements. Thexval stared at the display, his trained military eye beginning to see patterns he had missed before. The human ships weren't randomly rushing to help their damaged vessels. They were moving in a carefully coordinated pattern, using the rescue operation as cover for something else. And here, Deho continued, advancing the recording, you see what you called an emotional retreat. Humans abandoning their positions because they couldn't stand to see their friends die. The alien commander watched as the human fleet withdrew from battle, but now, with Deho pointing out the details, it looked different. The retreat was organized, purposeful. Ships that had seemed to be fleeing in panic were actually moving to predetermined positions. You were so focused on our supposed emotional weaknesses, Deho explained, that you missed the real strategy. Every battle you've studied, every victory you think you've won, we let you see exactly what we wanted you to see. Thexval's mandibles clicked faster. Impossible. We captured human prisoners. We interrogated them. They told us everything. Deho nodded approvingly. Yes, they did. And what they told you was precisely what we trained them to say. Did you really think that in a war spanning multiple star systems we wouldn't prepare our people for the possibility of capture? The human advanced the holographic display to show another battle, this one more recent. The Battle of Kepler's Edge, which you just showed to your students as an example of human predictability. Tell me, Commander, what happened to the alien fleet after this recording ended? Thexval opened his mouth to answer, then stopped. He tried to remember the official reports from that battle. The human fleet had retreated, yes, but afterward, things had gotten complicated. Supply lines had been disrupted. Communication. Networks had failed. Several alien commanders had made tactical errors that seemed completely out of character. The human ships you saw retreating, Deho said softly, weren't running away. They were leading your forces exactly where we wanted them to go. On Thexval's podium, his communication device began beeping urgently. Messages were coming in, from across the academy, then from across the planet, then from across the entire star system. Reports of unusual activity, communication disruptions, and security breaches. Park So-min had activated every sleeper agent in their network. Students who had seemed harmless were revealing themselves as trained operatives. Exchange programs that had been dismissed as cultural curiosity were showing their true purpose. How many? Thexval whispered. How many what? Deho asked innocently. How many of you are there? How many humans have infiltrated our facilities? Deho considered the question seriously. Well, that depends on how you count. Are you asking about humans who look like humans? Or are you including the ones who look like you? The blood drained from Thexval's face, an impressive feat for someone with green skin. You can't disguise as other species. The biological differences are too great. Our scanners would detect. Your scanners detect what they're programmed to look for, Deho interrupted. And for the past 3 years we've been very helpful in updating those programs. We've provided you with detailed information about human biology, haven't we? We've been very cooperative in your research efforts. Thexval thought about all the human prisoners who had been so willing to provide biological samples. All the human defectors who had offered to share their species' secrets. All the captured human technology that had been reverse-engineered and integrated into alien systems. Every piece of information you have about humans came from humans, Deho continued. Every scan profile, every genetic marker, every biological signature. We gave you all of it, perfectly accurate and completely useless. The commander's communication device was now beeping constantly. Reports were flooding in from every major alien facility in the system. Security breaches, missing files, sabotaged equipment, and most disturbing of all, personnel who were not who they appeared to be. This is an act of war, Thexaval said desperately. Daeho shook his head. No, Commander. This is a response to your act of war. You see, teaching people how to kill humans is generally considered a hostile action by humans. We take that sort of thing personally. The human walked back to where his bag was sitting and began packing up his notes. I want to thank you for such an informative semester. Your insights into what you think are human weaknesses will be invaluable in planning our next moves. The Academy will be locked down, Thexaval said. You'll never leave this planet alive. Daeho paused in his packing and looked up at the commander. For the first time since removing his disguise, he smiled. It was not a pleasant expression. Commander, he said quietly, you just spent 4 months teaching your students that humans are predictable, emotional, and easily trapped. Do you really think I would reveal myself if I didn't have a way out? As if summoned by his words, the lights in the lecture hall flickered and went out. The first phase of human retaliation struck 17 star systems simultaneously. In each system, alien military commanders found themselves facing the same terrifying reality. Everything they thought they knew about human warfare was wrong. In Fur, the Zephyr Nebula, Commander Vexton of the 3rd Alien Fleet received an urgent transmission from his sensor operators. Sir, we're detecting human vessels approaching, but according to our records, there shouldn't be any human ships within 50 light-years of this position. Vexton looked at his tactical display with growing confusion. The human ships appearing on his screens were using formations he had never seen before. They moved with precision that contradicted every report he had read about chaotic human tactics. How many vessels? He demanded. 37, sir. But that's impossible. Our intelligence reports indicated that the humans lost most of their fleet in the Battle of Rigel Station 3 months ago. Vexton remembered that battle well. He had studied the recordings in detail, using them to train his officers in anti-human tactics. The human fleet had been destroyed, their ships scattered, like debris across space. He had watched the footage himself. Sir, his communications officer interrupted, we're receiving a transmission from the lead human vessel. They're requesting to speak with you personally. Put them through, Vexton ordered, curious to hear what desperate plea for mercy the defeated humans might offer. The voice that came through his speakers was calm and professional. Commander Vexton, this is Captain Nam Tae-hyun of the Human Psychological Warfare Division. I believe you studied our defeat at Rigel Station quite carefully. Vexton's mandibles clicked in satisfaction. Yes, human. It was a masterful example of your species' tactical failures. Your emotional decision-making cost you an entire fleet. Interesting observation, Captain Nam Tae-hyun replied. Tell me, Commander, what happened to your supply lines after that battle? Did you notice any unusual problems with equipment deliveries, communication disruptions, personnel transfers that seemed routine but caused unexpected complications? Vexton paused. Now that the human mentioned it, there had been a series of minor problems following the Rigel Station battle. Nothing that seemed connected, just the usual difficulties of managing a large military operation. Delayed shipments, confused orders, technical glitches that required calling in specialists to fix. Every ship you destroyed at Rigel Station, Captain Nam Tae-hyun continued, was scheduled to be decommissioned anyway. We filled them with automated systems and volunteer crews who knew they were participating in a deception. What you saw wasn't a defeat, Commander, it was theater. On his tactical display, Vexton watched the human ships continue their approach. They weren't attacking, just moving into position around his fleet. But their formations were unlike anything in his training manuals. While you were celebrating your victory, the human captain explained, our real forces were infiltrating your support network. Those supply specialists who helped repair your equipment after the battle, those communication technicians who upgraded your systems, those personnel transfers that seemed so routine. Vexton felt a cold sensation spreading through his body. Impossible. We have strict security protocols. All personnel are verified through multiple biometric scans. Protocols that rely on databases we helped you build, Captain Nam Tae-hyun replied. Biometric data we provided during prisoner exchanges. security systems we assisted in designing during our cooperative research programs. Across alien space, similar conversations were taking place. In the Andromeda sector, Admiral Kexavara was discovering that the mining equipment her forces had been using for the past year contained hidden transmitters. In the Orion arm, General Thoklan learned that his new communication network had been designed with backdoors that humans had been using for months. On Vorthak Prime, Kim Dae-ho had made his way to the Academy's main library, where he found exactly what he was looking for: the complete archive of human military intelligence that the aliens had gathered over the past 3 years. "Fascinating reading," he commented to Park So-min as she joined him among the databanks. "They have detailed analyses of every major human defeat, complete tactical breakdowns of our failed strategies, and psychological profiles of our incompetent commanders." Park So-min looked over his shoulder at the files he was reviewing. It must have taken them enormous effort to analyze all this information. Such a shame that none of it is actually real. The archive contained thousands of hours of battle footage, prisoner interrogations, captured documents, and intercepted communications. It represented the most comprehensive intelligence operation in galactic history. It was also almost completely fabricated. "The beauty of it," Dae-ho said, "is that everything here is technically true. Every battle they recorded really happened. Every defeat they studied really occurred. They just never realized they were watching carefully staged performances." Meanwhile, in space above the Academy, Admiral Choi Hyojin was coordinating with human forces across the galaxy. The simultaneous revelation of human capabilities was proceeding exactly as planned. "Report from Sector 7, her communications," officer announced. "Captain Yoon Ji-hae reports successful deployment of stealth vessels. Alien forces are surrounded and requesting terms." "Sector 12 reports similar success," another officer added. "The aliens there are asking how many of our destroyed ships are actually still operational." Admiral Choi Hyojin smiled. "Tell them that's classified information. They'll need to take our advanced course to learn those details." The human strategy was elegantly simple. For 3 years they had allowed alien forces to win battles, capture prisoners, and steal technology. But every victory had been carefully planned. Every captured human had been trained in what to say, and every piece of stolen technology had been designed to fail at the worst possible moment. Captain Nam Tae-hyun, still in conversation with the increasingly nervous alien commander, decided to provide a practical demonstration. "Commander Vexton, I'd like you to try activating your primary weapons systems." "I see no reason to comply with that request," Vexton replied, though something in the human's tone made him uneasy. "Please indulge me. It's important for your education." Against his better judgment, Vexton ordered his weapons officer to power up the fleet's main guns. The response was immediate and alarming. Error messages began cascading across every weapons control station. "Sir," his weapons officer reported, "the targeting computers are malfunctioning. The power systems are showing critical errors, and the ammunition loading mechanisms have locked down completely." Captain Nam Tae-hyun's voice came through the speakers again, sounding almost sympathetic. "I'm afraid that's a feature, not a bug. You see, Commander, those weapon upgrades you installed last month, the ones that were supposed to make your guns more effective against human ships, they included some additional functionality that we didn't mention in the user manual." Across Vexton's fleet, ship after ship was reporting the same problems. Weapon systems that had worked perfectly for months were suddenly failing. Navigation computers were displaying error messages in languages that shouldn't exist. And most disturbing of all, life support systems were requesting authorization codes that no one remembered setting. "This is impossible," Vexton said. "Our engineers tested every component. Our security teams verified every system. With testing equipment we provided," Captain Nam Tae-hyun pointed out, "using security protocols we helped design. Commander, for the past 3 years you haven't been fighting humans. You've been fighting holographic projections while real humans rebuilt your entire military infrastructure from the inside." Similar realizations were occurring throughout alien space. The comfortable certainty that aliens had felt about human inferiority was crumbling as they discovered just how thoroughly they had been manipulated. On Vorthak Prime, General Mordak was receiving reports that grew more alarming by the hour. Human operatives were revealing themselves not just at the Academy, but at every major military installation in the system. Personnel who had passed every security check for months or years were suddenly admitting to being human agents. "Sir," his intelligence chief reported, "we're receiving similar reports from across our territory. It appears that humans have been infiltrating our facilities on a scale we never imagined possible." "How many?" Mordak demanded. "Unknown, sir, but based on preliminary reports it may be thousands of operatives across hundreds of installations." The general stared at the tactical display showing human ships maintaining perfect formations around his planet. "How long have they been planning this?" Before anyone could answer, the communication system activated with an incoming message. "General Mordak, this is Admiral Choi Hee-jin. I believe it's time for your next lesson." "What lesson?" Mordak asked. "The lesson about patience," the Admiral replied. "You see, General, humans are very good at playing long games. While you were studying how to defeat us quickly, we were planning how to defeat you permanently." On the tactical display, more human ships were appearing throughout the system. Not attacking, just taking positions that would allow them to control every important installation and transportation route. "For 3 years, Admiral Choi Hee-jin continued, you have been fighting the war you wanted to fight. A war against weak MODA's reports flooded in from across alien space. It became clear that the human operation was far more extensive than anyone had imagined. What had seemed like isolated security breaches were revealing themselves as part of a coordinated intelligence network that spanned the entire galaxy. Oh Soo-jin had been declared dead 8 months ago during the Battle of Wolf 359. Her transport ship had been destroyed by alien forces while evacuating wounded from a medical station. The aliens had even recovered her body and confirmed her death through genetic testing. Now she stood in the command center of the Corthanian Deep Space Monitoring Station, wearing the uniform of a senior technician named Voktara. For 8 months, she had been maintaining the very sensors that were supposed to detect human infiltrators. Alert status confirmed across all sectors, she reported to her supposed alien supervisor. All human vessels have been detected and are being tracked. What she didn't mention was that she had been modifying the sensor data for months, ensuring that the aliens saw exactly what they expected to see. Weak human ships using predictable tactics in desperate attempts to avoid superior alien forces. Her supervisor, a Corthanian named Gexnal, nodded approvingly. "Excellent work, Voktara. Your modifications to our detection systems have been invaluable in tracking human movements." Oh Soo-jin allowed herself a small smile. "Thank you, sir. I've tried to be thorough in my analysis of human capabilities." The irony was perfect. The aliens were praising her for helping them track humans while she was actually coordinating the largest deception operation in galactic history. Every sensor reading, every intelligence report, every tactical analysis had been carefully crafted to support the illusion that humans were losing a war they had never actually been fighting. Across the galaxy, similar scenes were playing out. Human agents who had been presumed dead were revealing themselves in positions of trust throughout alien military and intelligence networks. The carefully maintained fiction of human weakness was crumbling as aliens realized they had been receiving their information about humanity from humans themselves. On Earth, Bae Won-shik stood before the Galactic Council for what would be his final appearance as humanity's ineffective ambassador. For 2 years he had played the role of a bumbling diplomatic failure, consistently unable to secure favorable terms for his species in negotiations with alien powers. "Honored counselors," he began, using the same apologetic tone that had made him seem weak and incompetent in countless previous sessions. "I come before you today to discuss the recent developments in human-alien relations." Counselor Thexmara, a senior Zeltharian diplomat, interrupted him with obvious irritation. "Ambassador Bae, we are already aware of your species' latest terrorist attacks across our territories. This council will not negotiate with terrorist attacks." Bae Won-shik interrupted, and for the first time in 2 years his voice carried no trace of uncertainty or apology. "Counselor, I believe there has been a misunderstanding about the nature of recent events. The change in his demeanor was so dramatic that the entire council chamber fell silent. The human ambassador, who had been dismissed as weak and incompetent, was speaking with authority that commanded immediate attention. For 2 years, Bei Wanshik continued, I have sat in this chamber and listened to discussions about human inferiority. I have accepted insults to my species with grace. I have agreed to territorial concessions that seem to benefit your peoples at humanity's expense, and through it all, I have maintained the fiction that humans are desperate for your approval. He walked to the center of the chamber, where holographic displays began materializing around him. Today, that fiction ends. Allow me to introduce you to the real results of human diplomacy. The displays showed star maps of the galaxy, but not as the council members remembered them. Territory that they believed belonged to alien powers was marked as human-controlled. Trade routes they thought were secure were highlighted as human-monitored, and most shocking of all, installations they considered vital to alien security were shown as human-operated. Every concession I made, Bei Wanshik explained, every territory I seemed to give away, every agreement that appeared to favor your species over mine, was carefully designed to place human assets in positions where they could be most effective. Counselor, Dexmara's scales rippled with shock. Impossible. We have independent verification of territorial control. Our own surveys confirm information provided by human survey teams. Bei Wanshik interrupted. Using human-designed equipment, following human-recommended protocols and verified by human-trained personnel. The ambassador activated another display showing the composition of various alien military and intelligence organizations. For example, Counselor Thexamara, your own intelligence service currently employs 47 humans in positions ranging from data analysts to senior operatives. They have been providing you with comprehensive reports on human activities for the past 18 months. The Zeltharian counselor's expression showed her dawning horror as she realized the implications. Our security protocols would have detected human infiltrators immediately. Protocols designed with assistance from human cybersecurity experts, Bei Wanshik replied. During our cooperative research exchanges, we were very helpful in improving your detection systems. We made sure they worked perfectly for detecting the kind of humans you expected to find. Meanwhile, at the Academy on Vorthak Prime, Kim Dae-ho and Park So-min were conducting their own educational demonstration. They had gathered the Academy's senior faculty in the same lecture hall where Commander Thexval had been teaching his anti-human warfare course. Professors, Kim Dae-ho addressed the assembled alien academics, I understand you've been developing curriculum focused on human weaknesses. I'd like to offer some feedback on your research methods. The faculty members sat in uncomfortable silence, still trying to process the revelation that one of their most dedicated students had been human all along. Commander Thexval, now under guard, watched from the front row with a mixture of fear and fascination. Your primary error, Dae-ho continued, was assuming that the data you collected about humans was collected from unwilling subjects. In reality, every human prisoner you interrogated was a volunteer who had been trained specifically for that purpose. He activated the holographic display system and began showing recordings from various alien intelligence facilities. Here, for example, we see human agent Lee Min-kyung undergoing enhanced interrogation at the Vextorian Intelligence Center. Notice how he provides detailed information about human military capabilities, troop movements, and strategic plans. The ICE recording showed a human prisoner, clearly under duress, revealing what appeared to be classified information about human defenses to his alien captors. The information was detailed, consistent, and completely believable. Agent Lee spent 3 months in Vexatorian custody, Dae-ho explained, during which time he provided over 200 hours of intelligence briefings. Every piece of information he shared was carefully crafted to support the narrative that humans were losing the war. Park So-min took over the presentation, showing additional recordings from other facilities. Agent Hong Ji-min spent 4 months in Corthanian custody, where she revealed the locations of supposedly secret human bases. Agent Cho Sung-woo provided detailed technical specifications for human weapon systems. Agent Yang Hai-rin shared comprehensive psychological profiles of human military commanders. The alien faculty members were beginning to understand the scope of what they were seeing. Every source of information they had relied upon to understand human capabilities had been a trained actor providing scripted responses. But the physical evidence, Professor Kextorian protested. We recovered human bodies from battle sites. We analyzed their biological samples. We confirmed their genetic markers. Bodies of volunteers who chose to sacrifice themselves for the mission. Deho replied solemnly. People who believed that their deaths would help save humanity by maintaining the deception that we were weaker than we actually are. The room fell silent as the implications of this revelation sank in. The humans had not only been providing false information, they had been willing to die to make that information believable. Every battle you studied, Park So-min continued, every defeat you celebrated, every weakness you identified, was part of a comprehensive educational program designed to teach you to fight the wrong enemy. On the displays around them, battle footage began playing, but now the images were annotated with additional information that the aliens had never seen before. Hidden human ships providing support from positions the aliens hadn't detected, retreat routes that led to prepared positions rather than random flight, casualties that were significantly lower than reported, because many deaths had been carefully staged. The humans you thought you were fighting, Deho explained, were actors playing roles in a production designed to convince you that you were winning a war that never actually existed. Commander Thexval finally found his voice. But why? Why go to such elaborate lengths? Why sacrifice so much to maintain a deception? Kim Dae-ho looked at the alien commander. The lecture hall was filled with the sound of clicking claws and rustling scales as students took notes. Commander Thexval stood at the front of the room, his 6 arms moving across the holographic display. Images of human soldiers filled the air above the students' heads. Look at this pathetic creature, Thexval said, pointing at a human soldier on the screen. See how small it is? How weak? Humans have no natural weapons. No claws, no fangs, no armor plating. They need machines to fly and tools to fight. The students in the room nodded and wrote in their notebooks. There were Corthanian warriors with their thick shell armor. Zeltharian hunters with their razor-sharp claws sat next to Vexatorian scouts with their 4 eyes that could see in complete darkness. All of them were here to learn about their enemy. The human brain is their only advantage, Thexval continued. But even that is flawed. They are ruled by emotions. Fear makes them run. Anger makes them stupid. Love makes them weak. Corthanian student raised one of his armored hands. Commander, what about their pack behavior? They seem to work together well. Thexval laughed, a sound like grinding metal. Pack behavior, yes. But it is predictable. Threaten one human and the others will come running to save it. This makes them easy to trap. Kill their leaders and they fall apart. Separate them and they become helpless. The hologram changed to show a battle scene. Human ships exploded in space while alien forces celebrated victory. This was the Battle of Proxima Station, Thexval explained. Notice how the humans threw themselves into danger to save their wounded. Notice how they refused to leave their dead behind. These emotional weaknesses cost them the battle. In the back row, a figure that looked like a Zeltharian took careful notes. His scaled hands wrote down every word the commander said. His yellow eyes watched every image that appeared in the air. But if anyone had looked closely, they might have noticed something strange about this student. His movements were too careful, his breathing too steady. And sometimes, when the commander described human deaths, something flickered across his face. It was there for just a moment, then gone. Humans are also limited by their biology, Thexval went on. They need oxygen to breathe. They need water every few days. They need food constantly. Their skin is soft and tears easily. A single shot from a plasma rifle will kill them. The commander pulled up more images. These showed human prisoners in alien cells. They break easily under pressure. Torture one human and it will tell you everything. They cannot stand pain like we can. They cannot go without sleep like we can. They are weak in every way that matters. A young Vexatorian raised her hand. But, Commander, Humans have spread to many worlds. How did such weak creatures manage that? Thexaval's mandibles clicked in what might have been a smile. Good question, Cadet Zixara. Humans spread by running away. When they cannot fight, they flee. When they cannot win, they hide. They are like insects scattering when you lift a rock. They build their colonies in systems we do not want. Remote places. Worthless planets. The hologram now showed a map of human space. Red dots marked human colonies scattered across the galaxy. Look at this pattern, Thexaval said. They avoid direct confrontation with superior forces. They run to places where we cannot easily follow. This is not strategy, this is cowardice. The students wrote down every word. The fake Zeltharian in the back row also wrote. But his notes were different. Where other students wrote, humans are weak, he wrote other things. Where they wrote emotional and stupid, he wrote protective of each other. Where they wrote cowardly, he wrote careful. Now, let us discuss combat tactics, Thexaval continued. When fighting humans, remember these key points. First, they rely too much on their machines. Destroy their weapons and they become helpless. Second, they cannot fight without their leaders. Kill the officers and the soldiers will surrender. Third, they value individual lives too much. Take prisoners and they will do anything to get them back. The commander walked between the rows of desks. His boots made loud sounds on the metal floor. I have fought humans for 20 years, he said. I have seen them in battle. They are predictable. They make the same mistakes over and over. They try to save everyone and end up saving no one. A student near the front asked, "What about human technology?" "Their ships seem advanced. Stolen or copied from us," Thexval replied quickly. "Humans have no original ideas. They take our designs and make them worse. Their ships are slower than ours. Their weapons are weaker. Their armor is thinner. They compensate by building more ships, but quantity cannot overcome quality." The fake Zeltharian student tilted his head slightly. His pen stopped moving for a moment. Then he continued writing. But now there was something different in his posture. Something that might have been amusement. "I will show you recordings from the Battle of Kepler's Edge," Thexaval announced. The hologram changed to show a space battle. Human ships faced off against a larger alien fleet. Watch carefully. See how the humans fight. The recording played. Human ships moved in formation, firing their weapons at the alien vessels. They used tactics that looked familiar to everyone in the room. Standard maneuvers taught in basic military school. Notice the pattern, Thexval pointed out. They group their ships together for mutual protection. They focus fire on single targets. They retreat when damaged. All predictable, all standard. The battle continued on the screen. The alien fleet was winning, pushing the human ships back. Human vessels exploded one by one. Their formation broke apart. Ships fled in different directions. And there it is, Thexval said with satisfaction. The moment of truth. When the pressure becomes too much, humans run. They abandon their wounded, they save themselves. This is why we always win in the end. But the student in the back row was watching something else. While the other students focused on the human retreat, he was looking at the details. The way the human ships moved, the timing of their withdrawal, the direction they chose to flee. The fake Zeltharian's yellow eyes narrowed slightly. To everyone else, this looked like a defeat. To him, it looked like something else entirely, something that made him want to smile, though his alien face could not show it. Your final examination will be next week, Thexval announced as the class period ended. You will design a battle plan for defeating a human fleet. Remember everything I have taught you. Use their weaknesses against them. Show no mercy, for they would show none to you if positions were reversed. Students began packing their bags and leaving the lecture hall. They talked excitedly about their final projects. They discussed which human weaknesses they would exploit. They planned how they would win glory in battle against such pathetic enemies. The fake Zeltharian student packed his bag slowly. He waited until most of the other students had left. Then he stood up and walked toward the exit, his movements casual and unhurried. Commander Thexval was erasing the holographic displays when he noticed the lone student still in the room. "Cadet," he called out, "class is dismissed. You may leave." The figure in the back row stopped walking. He turned around, slowly to face the commander. His hands reached up to his neck, finding the edge of what looked like natural scales. "Actually, Commander," the student said, his voice changing as he spoke, "I think I'll stay for just a moment longer." His fingers found the hidden catches of the biomask. With careful movements, he began to peel away the artificial skin that had hidden his true face for an entire semester. Commander Thexval watched in growing horror as scales fell away to reveal pale human skin underneath. Yellow alien eyes were removed to show brown human ones. The carefully crafted disguise that had fooled everyone for months came apart piece by piece. Kim Dae-ho stood in the empty lecture hall, his true face finally revealed. He was taller than he had appeared in disguise. His dark hair was neatly cut in military fashion. His brown eyes held an expression that was both calm and dangerous. "Thank you for the education, Commander," Dae-ho said in perfect galactic standard. His voice was quiet but carried clearly through the room. "Though I have to say there were quite a few errors in your curriculum." The biomask pieces lay scattered on the floor between them. Months of careful infiltration were over. The human exchange student that was never supposed to exist had just revealed himself in the heart of enemy territory. Commander Thexval stared at the human in front of him, his mind struggling to process what he was seeing. In all his years of teaching about human weaknesses, he had never considered that one might be sitting in his classroom, taking notes on every word he said. The real education was about to begin. Emergency power kicked in a moment later, bathing everything in red light. From somewhere on Earth in a secure facility buried deep beneath the Swiss Alps, Lee Dong-wook received the priority transmission from Park So-min at exactly 0347 hours, local time. The Director of Human Defense Intelligence had been expecting this call for months, but he still felt his heart rate increase when it came. "Phoenix has broken cover." Park So-min's voice crackled through the encrypted channel. "All assets are active. Request immediate authorization for Response Protocol 7. Lee Dong-wook stood in the command center, surrounded by screens showing alien territories across the galaxy. Each display tracked a different operation, a different piece of humanity's largest intelligence network. For 3 years, they had been placing their people in positions throughout alien space. "Authorization granted," he replied. "Tell Phoenix the classroom is now open for human instruction." Across the facility, technicians began activating communication systems that had been dormant for months. Deep space relay stations came online. Sleeper ships powered up their engines. And in 17 different star systems, human operatives received the same message. The lesson plan has changed. Admiral Choi Hee-jin was in her quarters aboard the flagship Seoul's Pride when the alert came through. She had been reviewing tactical reports, trying to look like she was concerned about alien naval movements. In reality, she had been waiting for this moment since taking command of the Third Fleet. The message from Earth was brief. "Mirror protocol is active. Show them what they missed in class." She smiled as she reached for her uniform jacket. For too long, humanity had played the role of the weaker species, the one that ran from fights and hid in remote systems. Today, the aliens would learn that they had been watching a performance. "All ship commanders to battle stations," she announced, over the fleet communication system. "Today we stop pretending to be weak." In the Kepler system, Captain Yoon Ji-hai stood on the bridge of her ship, the Silent Arrow. For 8 months her vessel had been listed as destroyed in battle reports sent to alien intelligence. In reality, it had been operating with experimental cloaking technology, gathering information deep in enemy territory. "Captain," her communications officer reported, "we're receiving the mirror protocol activation signal." Yoon Ji-hae nodded. Around her ship, 17 other vessels began materializing as their cloaking systems powered down. They had been hiding in the asteroid fields of the Kepler system, monitoring alien military traffic and waiting for this moment. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "Time to come back from the dead." On the planet Vorthak Prime, where the Galactic Military Academy was located, chaos was spreading through every major facility. What had started as isolated security breaches was now revealing itself as something much larger and more coordinated. General Mordak, the Academy's commanding officer, stood in his emergency command center watching reports flow in from across the planet. Communications networks were failing, transportation systems were shutting down, and most disturbing of all, personnel at every major military installation were revealing themselves to be humans in disguise. "How is this possible?" he demanded of his intelligence chief. "Our security protocols should have detected human infiltrators immediately." Chief Analyst Kexvala pulled up data on her screens. "Sir, it appears that our security protocols were designed using human-provided information about their own biology. If that information was deliberately falsified..." She didn't need to finish the sentence. Mordak understood immediately. Every security measure they had put in place to detect human infiltrators was useless if humans had designed those measures themselves. Meanwhile, in space around Vorthak Prime, something impossible was happening. Ships that had been destroyed in battles months or years earlier were appearing on sensors. Vessels that alien intelligence had confirmed as scrap metal were powering up weapons and taking combat positions. The duty officer in orbital defense couldn't believe what he was seeing. "Sir, we're detecting over 50 human vessels in the system. According to our records, most of these ships should not exist." "Should not exist?" General Mordak demanded. "Sir, we have confirmed battle footage of these vessels being destroyed. We tracked their debris. We monitored their crews being captured or killed." Back on Earth in his secure bunker, Kang Minho was coordinating the largest military deception in galactic history. The brilliant strategist had spent 2 years planning Operation Mirror, and now all the pieces were falling into place. "Phase 1 is complete," he reported to Lee Dong-wook. "All alien facilities have received our educational materials. Phase 2 is beginning now." On screens throughout the command center, human forces were revealing themselves in star systems across alien space. Ships that had been hiding for months were decloaking. Bases that aliens thought they had destroyed were coming back online, and personnel that should have been dead were very much alive. The aliens based their entire strategy on incomplete information, Kang Minho explained to his staff. "They studied our tactics, our capabilities, our psychology, but they only saw what we wanted them to see." At the academy on Vorthak Prime, Kim Dae-ho walked calmly through corridors filled with running soldiers and blaring alarms. His student identification still worked perfectly, which he found amusing. Even in the middle of a security crisis, alien, bureaucracy moved slowly. He made his way to the academy's main communication center, where he knew Park So-min would be waiting. She had shed her own disguise and was sitting at a control terminal, her fingers dancing across alien keyboards with expert precision. "How are our students doing?" Dae-ho asked as he joined her. "Excellently," Park So-min replied without looking up from her work. 37 sleeper agents have activated across the planet. The alien defense network is completely compromised, and our real ships are beginning to arrive in the system. Through the windows of the communication center, they could see alien spacecraft launching from military bases across the planet. Hundreds of fighters and patrol vessels were scrambling to respond to the crisis, but they had no idea what they were facing. "The aliens are about to learn their first real lesson about humans," Dae-ho observed. "We're very good at making our enemies fight the wrong war." In space above the planet, the first human ships began to appear. But these weren't the vessels that alien forces expected to face. Instead of the battered, outdated ships that humans were supposed to possess, sleek new vessels materialized with technology that shouldn't exist. Captain Yoon Ji-hae's Silent Arrow led the formation, its advanced hull gleaming under the system's twin suns. Around it, other ships appeared one by one, each representing capabilities that alien intelligence had declared impossible for human engineering. "All vessels, this is Admiral Choi Hee-jin aboard the Soul's Pride," a voice announced across all channels, both human and alien. "Today's lesson is about assumptions. For 3 years you have assumed that humans are inferior. You have assumed that we are weak. You have assumed that we are predictable. Alien defense forces were scrambling to respond, but their formations were designed to fight the humans they thought they knew. Ships positioned to counter emotional, reckless attacks. Weapons calibrated for vessels with weaker shields. Tactics based on the idea that humans would try to save every ship and protect every life. You studied us, Admiral Choi Hee-jin continued. But you only saw what we chose to show you. Every battle you won was won according to our script. Every weakness you discovered was a weakness we wanted you to find. The human fleet moved with precision that alien forces had never seen before. Instead of the chaotic, emotion-driven tactics they expected, human ships operated with coordination that made alien formations look clumsy and predictable. This is Admiral Choi Hee-jin, to all alien forces in the Vorthak system, the transmission continued. You wanted to learn how to kill humans. Today, we will teach you something far more important. We will teach you what happens when humans decide to stop holding back. On the planet below, General Mordak watched his defense grid fail system by system. Human operatives who had been hiding in his facilities for months were now sabotaging key installations with the precision of experts who knew exactly where to strike. Sir, his communications officer reported, we're receiving a message from the human fleet. They're requesting to speak with whoever is in charge of the Academy's curriculum. Mordak almost laughed despite the situation. Even in the middle of a military operation, the humans were maintaining their focus on education. Put them through, he ordered. The voice that came through the speakers was calm and professional. General Mordak, this is Admiral Choi Hee-jin of the Human Defense Force. We understand that your academy has been offering courses in anti-human warfare. We would like to offer some corrections to your curriculum. What do you want? Mordak demanded. We want to teach, the Admiral replied. Your students have been learning about human weaknesses. Today they will learn about human strengths. Your faculty has been studying how to defeat humans. Today they will study how humans win wars they were never supposed to survive. Around Vorthak Prime, alien defenses were collapsing with terrifying efficiency, not because of overwhelming force, but because human forces knew exactly where to strike.